There are probably dozens of versions of you that nobody ever met. Not imaginary versions, real ones. The person you were at 19 who was convinced life was going to turn out a certain way. The person who thought they would become a musician, a teacher, a writer, an athlete, or something else entirely. Maybe there was a version of you who was going to move to another city. Maybe you almost took a different job. Maybe you almost stayed in a relationship. Maybe you almost left one. Maybe there was a phone call you never made that would have changed something. We tend to think of our lives as a single line. We were born, we grew up, we made decisions, and here we are. But that's not really how it works. Our lives are full of forks. At every major decision, there are other versions of our lives sitting quietly on the road we didn't take. We rarely think about them, and when we do, it's usually with regret. What if I had taken that job? What if I had moved? What if I had said yes? What if I had said no? But maybe those questions aren't really about regret. Maybe they're about curiosity. Who would you have become? There was a version of you who made a different decision. You don't know what happened to that person because they never existed long enough to become real. And yet, you can still imagine them. Maybe they're living somewhere else. Maybe they have a completely different career. Maybe they married someone you never met. Maybe they have different friends, different habits, a different favorite restaurant. Maybe they're happier. Maybe they're miserable. Maybe they're basically the same person you are now, just with a slightly different collection of stories. That's what makes this interesting. We usually write about who we are. Try writing about who you almost became. Think about the decision. Find the moment where the road split, then follow the other road. Don't worry about whether your imagined life is realistic. Let yourself invent it. What does that person do on a Tuesday morning? What kind of house do they live in? Who do they talk to? What do they worry about? What do they regret? And most importantly, what do they think about you? Because maybe that person is wondering about you too. Maybe they occasionally think about the decision that separated your lives. Maybe they wonder what would have happened if they had chosen differently. We will never know, and that's okay. Some lives aren't meant to be lived. Some are only meant to be imagined. But writing gives us a strange opportunity. For a few minutes, we can visit those abandoned versions of ourselves. We can meet the person we almost became. And maybe, after meeting them, we understand the person we actually became a little better. Thanks for listening. Catch the Quiet Quotient on all major podcast platforms, as well as YouTube and Substack. Want to connect with me directly? Visit jimhansonmedia.com, where you can follow the podcast on our RSS feed and explore more writing resources. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, follow, and subscribe. Your support helps the Quiet Quotient continue creating content for writers like you.